Aditya, tell us what's been going on in Gaza for the last couple of days.
Well, it's been more than 45 days that the war has broken out after the deadly terror attack. And of course, the Israeli army, the Israeli IDF is inching closer. We're being told that the backroom negotiations are underway and there could be a possible breakthrough in the next 24 to 48 hours. But this is what has been happening over the last many days. There's no consensus between the multiple parties that are involved, including Egypt as well as Qatar, who are acting as mediators between Israel, US and Hamas in this particular case. But the big talking point over the last 3 days has been Israel's attack at the Al-Shifa hospital, where a lot of warning signals had gone through. And there was a lot of propaganda doing rounds, at least in the Hamas supporting press, that there was no tunnels, no terror infrastructure, or this was not an area used by Hamas to attack Israel. But the security footage that was released by the IDF clearly indicated that a Nepalese as well as a Thai national were being guarded inside. In fact, there were Hamas terrorists.
This is the CCTV footage.
This is the CCTV footage from 7th October.
That's right.
When people were being brought in, hostages abducted from southern Israel.
Right.
And this is the video, actually. And you can clearly see these two individuals who are actually being taken inside a ward. One of them seems to be injured as well, and are being escorted by armed gunmen, armed Hamas terrorists inside this particular ward of the Al-Shifa hospital. Apart from this footage that we have gathered from the IDF, there's also a big revelation, and this is the 55-meter tunnel that has been discovered by the IDF under the Al-Shifa hospital. Remember, the IDF for days together has been saying that Al-Shifa hospital is one of the command centers of the Hamas terrorists, and this tunnel shaft clearly indicates that Al-Shifa hospital was also being used by Hamas, and innocent civilians who were in fact patients in the hospital were being used as human shield, and that includes the multiple babies that the UN has now escorted out of the hospital. So the propaganda wars or the information warfare really continues. But in latest update, what we hear is that in the latest airstrikes, 3 operational commanders of Hamas have now been killed by the IDF. So both
that's the tunnel there, Aditya, that you were mentioning.
Yes, this is the tunnel that we are talking about.
The 50-meter deep tunnel.
Yeah. So apart from this tunnel, there's a lot of ammunition, a lot of laptops and other intelligence that has also been gathered by the IDF, not just from this particular tunnel, but from the Al-Shifa hospital and from neighboring buildings as well.
Right, so we haven't heard the last of the Al-Shifa building yet, and clearly the IDF is still going through this. They must be very careful about booby traps. I'm sure that a lot of these tunnels could be booby trap abandoned by Hamas fighters. So this kind of proves beyond reasonable doubt, Aditya, you think that the fact that the Al-Shifa hospital was indeed used to store hostages, to keep hostages, and there was a command center underneath the hospital?
Well, it's an open secret. Sandeep, we've been discussing this for over 1.5 months now, that how Hamas, not just here, but in the past as well, has been using civilians as human shields. They don't care about it. They're very blatant about it, and has used schools, playgrounds, UN compounds, and this time hospitals with evidence as their command centers, and to escape. You have a lot of these uniforms that are lying around, and they have been moving around in civilian clothes, merging with the common population. But the hostages are still with them, close to 230 to 240 in number. In fact, we are told that a pregnant lady who was with the Hamas has now delivered a baby in captivity. And so the youngest person now is actually a newborn baby, which is held captive by the Hamas terrorists. So we'll have to wait and watch how long this drama really unfolds, because the hostage crisis is really worsening. With, of course, there were 2 bodies a few days ago that were discovered near the Al-Shifa hospital, and now we're being told that a lot of these terrorists and fighters might have moved with the population towards the Egyptian border to escape from there.
And which explains why the IDF is going after the southern part of Gaza city, and it's quite likely that operations would begin there. And it's going to be horrific, Aditya. I mean, if you given the sheer number of people that are cloistered into that small space in the southern part of Gaza. But there's also talk of significant progress being made in hostage negotiations between Israel and Hamas. I'm just citing what Egypt's Al-Rad channel, which cited a source in Hamas, claimed that from tomorrow morning a ceasefire will begin in exchange for the release of captives, and that's this morning. They've actually, and the Hostages and Missing Families Forum, in fact, says that there's significant progress in these talks. What do we know about these talks? And this is clearly Hamas and Israel, but with a mediator, Egypt and
Well,
Qatar.
yes, Hamas and Israel have been in touch, through their interlocutors, through the intelligence mechanism that they already have. But apart from that, this time around, Qatar and as well as Egypt are acting as mediators because they are also directly impacted in many ways because a lot of the Hamas commanders sit in Qatar, they stay in Qatar, and Egypt shares a border with Gaza. So they have hand in whatever happens in Gaza or at the Gaza border, really. Apart from that, US's involvement and a lot of American citizens also held captive as hostages by Hamas clearly signifies the importance of the negotiations that are taking place. So yes, we've been hearing that there will be these humanitarian pauses and brief ceasefire periods that will happen from today onwards. But there's an official announcement that's awaited both from Israel and United States on what is the bargain really. If they allow a humanitarian pause and a ceasefire, will the Hamas immediately release 50 to 70 of the hostages, because then they do not have a leverage. So we'll have to wait and watch how things unfold, but it's likely that some kind of a mechanism has been drawn out and will be visible.
News9 Plus. Download now.